Greetings, YouTube. Yesterday, New Hampshire's governor said that he would sign the Same-Sex Marriage Act, but only after some wording had been changed. The governor wants the wording changed so that churches and the associated organizations that are controlled by churches are not required to support same-sex marriage and are legally absolved from any such actions on their part. I believe that this is called pandering to the religious right. Not an uncommon practice, but you see less of it in the Democrats than you do see in the Republicans. Now, I don't really know of a case where a church was forced to marry anyone. So I think protecting a church from being sued in the event that they don't want to marry a couple, regardless of their gender, is kind of a moot point. If he wants to throw that in there, let it. If it's on the books, okay. But a bigger issue is that churches frequently hire people to do secular jobs. Secretaries, janitors, handymen, any number of different positions that need to get done, and a church pays someone to do it. Now this means that if the church hires a secretary who happens to be a lesbian, and happens to be married, because eventually New Hampshire is going to have same-sex marriage, the church could ignore the validity of that woman's marriage, and could not be held accountable for doing that. This could affect insurance, leaves, things like that. They could not recognize an adoption if they wanted to, even though all of these things are recognized by the state. The churches are asking for a separate set of rules that only cover them and don't cover everybody else. Now, if this is what it's going to take to get same-sex marriage passed in New Hampshire, go for it. Because eventually, this will get overturned by a court. Because people will realize that a church cannot be allowed to have a different standard than a secular organization. When we have separation of church and state, the same laws apply to everybody, folks. But the idea that a church wants to have the right to be bigoted is really telling. And I think we should allow them to be bigots. Again, it makes it easier to identify the asshats. Because, take my word for it, the people right now that are saying that we don't want to recognize same-sex marriage are the same people back in the 1960s that say we don't want to recognize the right of a black person and a white person to marry. They were bigots 40 years ago. They're bigots now. Call it like what it is. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't say it's anything having to do with whether or not your religion says you should or shouldn't do something. If you treat people unequally, if you say this group over there gets rights and this group over there doesn't, if you say the Plaid people need not apply, you are a bigot. And it just saddens me that people who are supposed to be leading others in a spiritual pursuit are championing a cause for bigotry. It's nauseating. It's disturbing. But if they want to do it, if they want to paint themselves with that brush, let them. Let them put that big letter B on their chest in red ink that says bigot. I'm okay with that. I can know who to point at, and I tell everyone I know, don't go near them. They don't like Plaid people. They are bigots.